Welcome to Montenegro, a destination that's been quietly rising among digital nomads. In this video, we are on a mission to find out what digital nomads actually do. I'm staying here at Nomio, which is a co-living space where people from all over the world come to live and to work remotely. So I thought, why not sit with a few of them and ask them a simple question? What do you actually do for a living? Let's find out. Can you introduce yourself and tell me what you do?
My name is Kristina. I am the founder of Soul Mission Studio and I help businesses launch their brands and websites.
And how did you get into that?
I started as a graphic designer. I went to school for graphic design and then I just started freelancing for a few years. I worked with some brand agencies and eventually decided to start my own business and serve my own clients.
And how did you get into the nomad lifestyle?
It was during COVID actually. I had just graduated and I had a job, but it suddenly became remote. So I was paying rent at my apartment and working remotely, and I just had this idea that I could be doing this from anywhere anyway. So I decided to just get rid of all my stuff, pack one bag, and start traveling and working from coffee shops. And then I learned that this has an actual term. It's called a digital nomad. So I kind of inadvertently became one without even knowing that that was a thing.
Wow, and then you started your own business.
Yes, correct.
And why are you here in Montenegro? And why did you stay here in Nomio?
So I actually chose this place because of the co-living. While traveling, it can be hard to meet people. You obviously have locals everywhere, but a co-living makes it really easy to build connections and friendships with people over a longer term while still traveling. So I came to stay here because of the co-living, and it turns out Montenegro is incredibly beautiful as well. And I'm very happy that I found this place.
Great. Do you have any advice for people wanting to start this life?
Don't overthink it. It's actually much simpler than a lot of people make it out to be. All you need is an income from something that you do remotely. That's it. You don't need to worry about anything else. I see a lot of people talking about like insurances and mortgages and et cetera, like this is a very, like if you really want to do this, it's a simple process to do. You can just start right now. Basically, if you have a remote job, you can pick a place to go and maybe even trying it out before you fully commit. Like try out a few months working from a different place and see how it feels, see if you like living out of your suitcase. And there's nothing to lose really and everything to gain.
And if someone wants to be an entrepreneur and try something like you have, how much they can expect to make?
Man, that varies so much. And it depends on what you're doing, but service-based businesses, you can expect anything from 2 to 10K, and it's honestly like unlimited how much you can make because you can position yourself as the expert in a particular niche. So you can definitely make enough money to travel full-time comfortably, working remotely and creating your own business.
Do you ever go home?
I do. I come home for some holidays like Christmases and also planning to spend a few months this summer at home.
Great, thank you so much. So, can you introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Jennifer Morris, and I am from Toronto, Canada. And I am a digital nomad, and I work in logistics and transportation. I have 2 businesses. I have a freight brokerage, and I also have a logistics media platform where I educate small and medium-sized businesses, people in the industry about logistics and supply chain.
And how did you get into that?
By accident. No, I don't think a lot of people grow up and are like, I want to work in supply chain. Like, that's just not something that, it's not like being an astronaut. But like, I was working a job and I just wanted to move to Toronto. So I was like, oh, I'm just going to get a job and then I'll figure out what I want to do. I was like 24. I was like, I'll figure out what I want to do after I get the job. And so I got a job at one of the largest brokerages in North America, and turned out I was pretty good at it. So I stayed there for almost 10 years on and off. And then I kind of bounced around working for some clients, and then I started my own business in 2016, the freight brokerage, and then in 2022 is when I started my media platform.
So that's when you started being a digital nomad.
Yeah, actually, they started around the same time, not on purpose. I still have my brokerage that still runs on its own mostly. But the media platform kind of came out of some situations. I was doing consulting and I just noticed there was a gap in education. But we actually started traveling at the beginning of 2022. My partner and I, we were living in a house in Toronto. It was still kind of COVID vibes. And we were both like, wait, we don't own a house. We don't have kids. Why are we still here? Like, we're just paying, and the rent in Toronto is crazy. We're like paying all this money. Like, what are we doing? So we actually, the first 6 months of being a digital nomad, we drove around the US for quite some time. We learned a lot about being a digital nomad. So that was interesting. But yeah, like they kind of go together, but by accident.
Wow. And what advice do you have for someone that wants to start this kind of life?
I think like just do it. Like if you're considering it, you should probably just go, because like I think a lot of people see it as like, oh, you need to know what you're doing and you need to like, you know, if you're already working remote, you can do this lifestyle. That's like not a problem. Your biggest problem is going to be finding reliable Wi-Fi, you know?
But sometimes it's difficult to start your own business to get into remote position.
True, and this is what I mean. Like if you're already the type of person that has a remote job and your company doesn't care if you're in the office, it's a much easier transition. But I think look, entrepreneurship is not for everyone. I will be very clear about that. Like freelancing, maybe it's a little less of like you're still relying on other companies, but you can kind of have a little bit more freedom. Owning your own company specifically can be really, really draining. Like there's a lot of work. You have to be working all the time. I think that there's something to be said about like connecting with digital nomad. Like if you're trying to be a digital nomad, connect with digital nomads, because in reality, they're more likely to hire people that are remote when they need to hire somebody. So that's probably like the biggest like hack of like just network with other digital nomads if you already have a job that won't let you be remote.
Great advice. And why did you decide to be here in Montenegro and be here in Nomio?
Actually, this is the third time that my partner and I have been to Montenegro. We actually stayed in Kotor, not far from here. The last two times we were here in the fall, and we had to leave Schengen territory. So we were like, let's go back. And like, it's springtime. Let's see what it's like in the spring. We found Nomio. Actually, I think a friend of ours found it on Instagram, one of our other digital nomad friends. And they were like, oh, you should check it out. I looked at it online. It looked great. So we decided to come here, and it's awesome. The community is so great.
I agree. Fantastic. It was great to have you.
Oh,
Thank you. Hello. Can you introduce yourself?
Yes, sure. I'm Anahyse, Anahyse France, and I teach languages online for a living. I've been doing this for many years, but I've been doing it 100% online for the last 7 years.
Fantastic. And how did you get into this digital nomad life?
So it's something I have always wanted to do, but I took the leap 6 months ago, and I just decided to start traveling 3 months at a time to different places, and now here I am in Montenegro.
And why did you come to Montenegro and to come here and specifically stay in Nomio?
So it was really random, to be honest. I was browsing a website called coliving.com, and I was looking for my next accommodation and my next adventure. And I came across this co-living, and I started browsing. I knew nothing about Montenegro before, and I just thought, wow, this seems amazing. The rooms seem incredible. The place looks incredible. So let's just do it. So I booked, and here I am.
Did you visit anything here? So did you enjoy anything surrounding here, the Nomio?
Oh, yes. So I've been to Tivat several times, and I enjoy going to the little places, restaurants, eating ice creams. I've been to Kotor also a few times, and there are a lot of things I'm planning to do while I'm staying here. I'm planning to go to Budva to visit the capital. So yeah, it's definitely a very beautiful environment. There are a lot of things to do, whether you like just hiking or just, taking a stroll in the city. There is something for everyone.
I agree. And what advice do you have for people wanting to start this nomad life?
Okay, I would say first understand what you're going to do to sustain yourself. So if you already have a job that you can take remotely, that's one thing. If you have a skill that you want to work on and become a freelancer in this skill, that's another thing. If you want to start a business, that's also a possibility. But I would say do what you have to do, be patient. Maybe you're thinking about this now, and maybe it will happen in 2 or 3 years because you need to get things off the ground first. But if you really want to do it, start taking the steps now to make it happen.
Fantastic. And what if people want to become language teachers as you? How can they do it and how much they can expect to make?
So there are many, many different ways that you can teach languages online. There are platforms. Just on the top of my head, italki, for example, where you can offer your services, but there are many, many. So just do your research. You can also work with B2B companies that you can also find online, depending also where you are in the world, whether you want to teach to, Asian people or European people. And like everything, I think you need to just get started. To be honest, I have no degree in teaching languages whatsoever. That was not my training initially. I got into it kind of by chance, and then I just honed my skills in that. So I'm very interested in everything related to, learning engineering, linguistics, all those things. So I try to keep the job interesting. So if you want to make a living as a language teacher, maybe start by finding a platform where you can do that. And then also maybe get interested in the different ways you can monetize this skill differently. For example, I also sell online courses. That's also another way to do it.
It's great advice. Thank you so much. Hello, can you introduce yourself and tell me what you do?
Sure. My name's Terry. I work as an online software dev or a software dev contractor and newbie startup founder, shall we say.
Wow, what is your startup about?
So my startup helps big media buyers create advertisements quicker using AI. So if they're trying to generate between 20 to 400 videos per month, that's a whole nightmare in terms of hiring freelancers, managing teams. It's one of those things that AI can't do perfectly yet, but can definitely help with the experimentation phase. So for media buyers, they're open to experimentation, learning quickly what their target market wants. It's a tool that can be very helpful, but mainly for those big media buyers.
And if someone wants to do the same as you, what would you be your advice for them and how much they can expect to make?
I would say that varies. So I guess there's two parts of it, right? There's like how could someone presumably do, as in like have, are we talking about have an income online? Is it have regular work online, and then there's the part of like how much to make. So, okay, so let's say income online. So I think we're at a really awesome time right now where proliferation of AI and new tools means that no one's really an expert with any of this stuff. You know, if you are like an expert in AI and you're not in an AI lab building a foundation model, we're all at the same kind of starting point, which is great. It means that expertise is subjective. It's not based on decades of experience. It's still a very new thing. That means aligning to the newer tech platforms, but also the newer systems. So even say, for example, if you're a project manager and you align to project management tools that may be a bit newer in the market, okay, well, there are going to be opportunities. Equally, if you are aligned to a legacy system, which is considered unsexy or unpopular, let's say you're a Salesforce expert, there will always be demand for that kind of thing. So I would find online platforms which are either very new, in which expertise is novel, where there hasn't been a long time for people to build it, or places that are traditionally seen as boring or uninteresting, but demand is extremely high. And the parent platforms need kind of that support to keep them alive, like Salesforce. Without that support would be already they're having a bit of trouble with AI stealing their lunch, but they need their Salesforce consultants, and there are going to be others, such as QuickBooks, other platforms like that. I think then you can do very well. I think the other part of that is, and I've got a thesis that, you know, AI squeezes everyone to not just have their core function, say software, engineering or marketing, but they're also going to need to know the marketing and the sales. So having a stack of having your key deliverable and or marketing and sales, whether that's social media marketing, posting and then engaging with the people that engage with your posts, or straight cold outreach, finding the people who would have high intent for the service you offer, creating a list that's unique, not taken from places like Apollo or elsewhere, and finding a novel way to reach out to them, get their attention, and demonstrate your value. Loom video, introductory call, any other way. I think that's a really good way. I think I'm biased in thinking that, applying for jobs via old job boards, you're not really going to break through the noise, especially with the proliferation of AI applications. So you're going to need to, kind of make your own opportunities there. Another way of doing that, of course, is, one of the things, I guess, part of this lifestyle and how we've met is being in co-livings and co-workings. That can be really good because the density of interesting people that you meet is a lot higher than if you're going for a regular corporate job or traditional networking events. And there's a different level of implicit trust when you're living next to someone side by side versus going to a networking event and everyone's kind of, it's quite transparent what everyone's kind of there for and everyone's guards up. You're literally living together, cooking together, going on day trips together. You get to know each other a lot better. So I think that's another way that you can more organically and naturally meet interesting people, kind of show that you're for real, you know what I mean? And then make things happen that way. So I would say, make it the old-fashioned way, which is sales and marketing, but then you can also leave it, open, increase the surface area of serendipity by going to, a place like a co-living or a co-working and just meeting a broader network of people.
So entrepreneurship all the way.
I would say, I don't know, I wouldn't say entrepreneurship all the way. I would say it depends. I would say a really boring yet interesting way of doing well would be to find companies that have a high chance where if you can get equity in those companies, such as if you're an early or even current employee of, say, NVIDIA or a company like that, you get equity, you work there for 2 to 4 years, you do that 3 times in a 10-year career span. Yeah, you do pretty well. So that's one way of doing it. I say entrepreneurship, it's got its ups, it's got its downs, higher risk, higher reward. But then you've just got to adapt to the fact that the market and the marketing changes very, very quickly. So what you knew 6 to 12 months ago probably won't get you to the next 6 to 12 months. I think if you're okay with uncertainty and a bit of chaos and, learning rapidly on the fly, then it can be very good. But I wouldn't say it's necessarily default for everyone. It comes with its challenges.
And how did you decide to be a digital nomad?
I think that it was a long time ago. I think I interned abroad, and this, before that I was just going to go to London, go to a city and just go up the corporate ladder. That was the first time I traveled and worked abroad with a diverse group of people, and I was like, okay, I want more of this. So I think ever since then, I was kind of honestly in my corporate life, one foot in, one foot out, not really attentive. I think I was always looking for a way out, and that included, evenings and weekends learning software engineering. Back when that was a viable career path, right? And nowadays, probably wouldn't recommend it. But that's what I did. So I think it was very much, when it came, and honestly, almost petulantly, when I was just working for an employer that was doing some funny business. And I was like, okay, I'm going to take a step back and give it a go. That went horribly wrong in the first year, as I had to learn a lot of skills I didn't quite know. So I ended up being very lucky that just via serendipity and warm network, I managed to get my first few contracts and just learn the hard way through that. But I would definitely say that is the reckless way of doing it. Would not do it that way. And I would, while having employment, ensure that you take your first steps there, either getting your first contract or learning at least some of the basic sales and marketing skills required. Otherwise, it's just going to be horrendous stress, and you'll make some really bad mistakes with taking on customers you shouldn't or clients you shouldn't, going for ventures that you probably shouldn't. So I think if you can, have a nice, calm, stable job. Emphasis on calm or stable, not all of them are. If you don't have that, jump to a calm or stable job and then dip your toes in and then try that first contract or that first business project.
But you still advise to go into software engineering now? It gives you skills.
Yeah, I would say probably not in the same way. Like I did it a very old school way, which was, programming courses and then first few projects, and it was very slow. I think nowadays, the time to build software is so short. Like if you like mobile dev, okay, there's now a queue for the Apple Developer Program, but you can go on Rourke.com, get Claude to write a PRD, project requirements doc, and then build a really nice mobile app in, a couple of days. Get that released and then get learning the marketing side. Similar with websites, you can one-shot websites now with Claude Opus, Claude Sonnet 4.6, and Gemini 3.1, so that's really good. And then even marketing, there's so many permutations that before it took grind and hours, and now you're fine. Even, I guess, like sales, testing out tools like Instantly, Lemlist, all these automated outreach tools, it's a lot more accessible, even if you have a full-time job. Arguably, even if you have a full-time stressful job. But again, emphasis on getting a calmer one before you dip your toes. Don't bite off more than you can chew.
And why did you decide to come here to Montenegro and Nomio specifically?
So I've been to a few co-livings, and it goes to one of the points before, which is, I think in life you can plan some things, but you want to keep your surface area of serendipity as big as possible, or you want to keep yourself open for good luck. It's like life can sometimes
Surprise you.
Yeah, it can give you like a homie pass or something. And I think I've been to a few co-livings, and looking back at the different ones I've been to, one of the ones where not only did I have the most fun, met the most people, but even from a business point of view was really, really good for me, was a place which was similar to this. So it's a hotel that during off season doubled as a co-living, had a very high density of occupants. So I think the capacity here is 130. The previous one was a similar kind of size. And it just means that within a month of living, you'd meet more people. I've stayed at smaller ones and still met some interesting people, but you're meeting, 2 or 3 people a month, not, 20 or 30. So I think it kind of had the right ingredients. And then just other things like good facilities. Montenegro, I've always wanted to visit. So I think it's just check. So.
And the view.
The view's pretty. It's pretty iconic. I'm not gonna lie.
I think it's the thing that I'm going to miss the most, and you guys as well.
View first. The view is next level for sure, and I've barely seen anything. Right, I've not really left this area for the past 2 weeks, but Kotor is apparently amazing. Tivat, and then I drove past Budvar, and that looked really nice in the sun. So, yeah.
You need to visit. Thank you so much. Hi, can you introduce yourself and tell us what you do?
Hi, yes, I am Madeleine and I work in venture capital.
Wow, that's a very specific job. what do you advise people that want to work in what you do, they could do as well?
Well, that's a good question. I work for an American company, so I think the biggest thing is finding an American company that wants to do the same thing, wants to allow people to live globally, live remote. My company was very open about that from the very beginning, and so I never hid that I wanted to do this or live like this. And then from day one, they were excited and onboarded me because of it. So that was the best secret, to let them know that I was doing this as well.
And how did you find that job?
I actually got recruited for it, so I didn't have to go out searching for it, which was nice.
Did you have a remote job before?
Kind of. I worked both remote and in person, so it was a bit hybrid depending on the month. It was half and half.
Nice. And so, why did you want to be a digital nomad?
Well, this one's tricky. My partner's Swedish, so it initially started because we could not be in the same country together for too long. So we'd moved someplace we could both be, and then we eventually just started getting bored around 1 month, and so we just kept going and moving, and here we are 3 years later.
Wow, and you still want to keep going?
Well, yeah, because I would love to not pay taxes somewhere, or pay taxes more than just the US. So we're still moving around to kind of make that a bit easier. But it's also so nice getting to work in new places, and it makes a job that you're doing feel nice when you're in a new place every single week. It's, the same job over and over again, but you get to meet new people, have coffee in new places with new views, and I can't imagine going back to just living in one place and always going to the same coffee shop and always having to sit at my desk at my home with the same view. This makes it a nice way to do it more sustainably in the long run.
Do you change places a lot?
I think we've been changing about every 6 weeks roughly for the last few years. Sometimes we'll go to 2 months, sometimes we'll go down to 3 weeks, maybe, depending on how steady we are, what season we want to be in, how walkable it is everywhere. So it really depends on the place.
Great. And why did you decide to come here to Montenegro and Nomad specifically?
We decided to come here because, well, one, it's outside of the Schengen zone and also the US. So it was like a nice little third bucket that we could go to that had new times reset for both of us. But Nomad was so great because of the grocery store runs on Tuesdays. It feels like adult summer camp.
I agree.
Where everyone goes on Tuesdays, we all walk in with our grocery cart together. And then, it's so fun. Everyone here is working, building companies and talking. They're all sort of like future thinking about who they can be and the life they can live. And I really love the brains of the people that are doing Nomad or here at this place in particular.
How did you find out about it?
Actually, we kind of stumbled upon it. We went through Airbnb, which other people didn't seem to do, but we completely stumbled upon it and found out they had kind of a nomad program. So we got really lucky with this place. But we're really glad it worked out the way it did.
It was an accident.
Yes, very much. But thank gosh. We will certainly be doing co-livings moving forward.
Thank you so much. So after talking with everyone here, one thing became clear. There isn't just one path to becoming a digital nomad. Some build companies, some freelance, others are still figuring things out. But one thing that they have in common is that they decided to design their lives a little bit differently. And places like Nomad is where their paths cross. Would you try this lifestyle? Tell me in the comments and see you in the next video.